We get into our next conversation, and it's looking at what we are seeing currently in terms of political agitation and then taking a legal route to address those that are caught up in it, and whether this has happened in the past. And our next guest is going to take us through that, his own personal account and his own personal journey. Oduor Ong'wen. Oduor Ong'wen in the early 80s was a student, and he was a leader of the Students' Union. He was very, very active and very, very vocal. Then it so happened that there was something called the Mwakenya. He was arrested over it. No, before the Mwakenya, there's something that happened in an attempted coup of 1982. And then there was something called Mwakenya. He was arrested over those two. He was jailed over those two. And he spent some couple of years in jail and then went into exile before he came back into the country. He is now the executive director of the Orange Democratic Movement Party, and is a former detainee. Oduor Ong'wen, karibu sana.
Asante.
This is where we fix the nation one conversation at a time. We use lessons from the past to apply them into the present so we can then shape our future. And here you are telling your story of what has happened, and then also mirroring it with what's happening at present will help us to understand what's going on politically. Right now, you're at the helm of one of the largest political parties in Kenya as the executive director, head of the secretariat. You'll also tell us about that as well. But karibu. Janet is going to give you the day's quote. She'll tell you some words that were said by somebody somewhere sometime, and then she'll ask you whether those words make any sense to you.
I was listening to you giving his profile. I'm like, where are the books? Where's volume 1, volume 2?
Yeah.
Well, we'll come into it. Ernest Hemingway, a well-known author, on July 21st in 1899, this was the day he was born, he had a book called A Farewell to Arms. And in that book, there was a quote, and it said, "The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places. How does that read to you? Does it make sense?
Yes, it does, to some extent. I think when you look at the struggles, different nations, different societies, there are always some nodal points. And it is at these nodes that you can say the world has broken, and it gives rise to fresh impetus. Yeah, so basically, metals are fashioned by fire. Yes.
Metals are fashioned by fire. And sometimes metals go looking for fire. So they can be fashioned. You are one of those. You went looking for fire. Here I am.
Find me.
Burn me. Take us through your early university days in the 80s and what you were doing then. You were a student leader.
Yes, I joined the University of Nairobi in 1980. And at that time, a crop of student leaders had just been expelled. The student union had been banned. And therefore, I plunged straight into the struggles, first to have a student union registered. At the same time, dealing with political challenges of academic freedom, and so on. And that is how I became a leader, because in these struggles we had to register, because NUSO had been banned, so we struggled and we now registered SONU. Yeah.
Clandestine?
No. Not formally.
It was formally registered.
Yes, it was formally registered, with the late Tito Adungosi being elected its first chair.
And what position were you?
First, I was Deputy Secretary for Finance. But after coming from jail, the next elections, I was elected the Secretary General of the
let's go to
union.
Jail. You went to jail in between those two positions.
Yes.
Why? When?
On 1st of August 1982, there was a an attempted coup, actually a coup, by the Kenya Air Force personnel, which lasted for a while and then was crushed by contingents of the Kenya Army. And when the coup took place, many students were all over celebrating because it was at a time that repression in the country had reached levels that everybody was wishing to see the back of President Moi. Yeah, so there was a lot of celebration, not just students, but students are the most organized, so it's very easy to target them. Yeah, so after that, the security agencies came for me. I was detained at the GSU training school in Embakasi for a while, then charged with sedition. After 7 months, the charges were withdrawn and I was released. Going back to the university, they tried to expel us, 61 of us, but again, that was reversed. So we proceeded with doing our exams, and then the university was closed for a whole year. Yes, in an attempt to quote unquote reorganize. Yeah. So when we came back, that was October 1983. We did our elections as students, and I was elected the Secretary General, with Mheshimiwa Mwandawiro Mganga having been elected the chairperson. So, but of course, in the process, we had also been part of underground movement since 1982. You know, in 1982, I think it was around May, this country was turned into one-party state by law. Although it had been a one-party state since 1969, when KPU was banned. So it was a de facto one-party state. But now it was made de jure in 1982. In the process, before the coup, just to put this in context, there was a big crackdown at the university. Many lecturers at UON and then Kenyatta University College were arrested, including Maina wa Kinyati, Willie Mutunga, Professor Edward Oyugi, Mukaru Nganga, Katama Mkangi, and a number also had to go to exile, like Shadrach Guto, Michere Mugo, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Kimani Gishau. Yeah, so basically the country was in turmoil. Yeah.
So, General, you can see this from your quote, from what you said in your quote. This is the moment when, things were happening, that there was a lot of agitation politically. Young people, because those were then the Gen Z then, university students, when they were Gen Z.
When they were Gen Z. And yet you can tell that it compares quite a bit to what's happening today. I know that will be jumping the gun, and we'll get to that, because I'm sure from where he sits, you can see similarities. Or maybe not. Maybe there's stark differences or similarities between what it is that you and your peers and colleagues faced vis-a-vis what we're seeing the activists of today also facing. But I think we'll come to that in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to jump into the Mwakenya days. Yes. Because, and this one, by the way, Oduor, many people do not know what Mwakenya is. Many people know Mwakenya as, Maria?
Cheating in an exam when someone passes you up. Their notes or their, yes, a Mwakenya, that's exactly it.
So what was Mwakenya? What is the origin of Mwakenya, and what was it?
Again, this can be traced to around 1969, when the country was made a de facto one-party state. People with dissenting opinions, people with a different ideology from the then reigning ideology, had no space for organizing. So a few Kenyans, mainly around the universities, the university lecturers, but not solely, because there were also people who are not in the university, organized themselves into what was called December 12th movement, DTM, and began operating from the underground, including doing a lot of publications and disseminating the same. That publication was called Pambana. So for close to 4 years, DTM was able to operate without being detected. And then the government started the crackdown, where the fellows, the lecturers have mentioned, were targeted because they had been the most radical. They had been part of the academic staff union. So the government thought they were the engine of this underground movement. But of course, there was a lot of activity in the underground amongst lecturers, amongst students, amongst various trade unions in the country. So that crackdown in 1982 did shake the movement a bit. And it is in that process that, in an effort to make the government lose track, the name was changed from December 12th movement to Mwakenya. Yeah, of course there were a lot of other dynamics, but mainly that was the reason. Yeah, so in 1984, the name changed to Mwakenya.
Yes. Looking back, did Mwakenya almost anticipate how brutally the state would react, or was repression always just fully expected?
When you get into this kind of struggle, you know you are in war. And when you are in war, you shoot and you are shot at. Yeah, so it wasn't completely unexpected. However, as you say, the nation had to be fixed.
And for that, there had to be measures had to be taken.
Okay.
All right. I'm trying to think if you are drawing any similarities between what was happening then, from 1982 into then, actually from 69 all the way to 82 into the 90s and into, you know, Saba Saba, and what is happening now.
Yeah, there are a lot of parallels we can draw, and there are also significant differences. Similarities are that there was widespread anger with the regime in power, just like it is today. Secondly, whenever there was voice of dissent, the state came with serious repressive boots to try and kanyaga and finish. Yes. So there was basically using force to try and deal with issues, very legitimate issues that people were raising at that particular time. Instead of reaching out, having conversation with these people and trying to find a solution together, the state decided to react with force. There was also a lot of extrajudicial killing. Since 1983, when Nyayo House was built, there were chambers specifically designed for torture of dissidents there in the basement of that house. So apart from just torture, people died in those torture chambers. I think one of your colleagues then, Wallace Gisheru, was dropped from the 24th floor. And then they said he had committed suicide. Yeah, there was somebody called Baraka Karanja who disappeared without trace, just like we are seeing disappearances now. And when the family went to court for habeas corpus, the court ordered that the police must produce him. And apparently they had killed him and buried him somewhere around Eldoret. So they dug so many graves in the forest around Eldoret. The body was never found. So there is a lot of parallel we can draw between that time and this time. But there are also significant differences. At that time, we had a law that allowed the state to detain people without trial. In our charge sheets, there was also the charge of sedition. Out of this struggle, we were able to remove those out of our law, of our statute books. And as we speak now, there is no detention without trial. The charge of sedition no longer exists. But I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. Why? Because now, instead of detaining you, they eliminate you. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. You're not the first person to say that. Almost every political detainee has said what you're saying, which is the stark differences.
Jeru Kathango, I think, more or less has said the same thing.
Wafula Buke said the same thing.
Itobwe Manyara.
Yeah, but right now, the dissent is being framed as terrorism. That's what we're seeing, right? In terms of what's happening with the arrest of Boniface Mwangi. Lessons is usually a big word, but I was going to say, what lessons can modern activists take? From where you're sitting, activism is very alive right now, validly so. People are pushing for a better country. Is there any reflection you'd like to make to people who are in the struggle now, given that there are certain tools that are now being used, new words are being introduced? If it wasn't detention without trial, it's now terrorism. Just want to get your reflection on how you'd want to speak to modern activists.
First of all, I'm shocked that fairly innocent persons are being arrested and charged with terrorism, because terrorism is a very, very serious crime. And if we make it so cheap that any Kenyan of the street would be picked and charged with terrorism, what we are doing is endangering this country. Because now, if even Kenyans will not come out where they sense threats of real terrorism, they'll not report. And then all our lives, you and I, are endangered. Because terrorism is very serious. It's just as serious as treason. Treason is not once. Yeah, so I think my advice to the state is that it should be very, very careful on how it if it begins to abuse such serious situations like those of terrorism. Secondly, I think our penal code has got enough provisions to deal with any crime committed rather than resorting to terrorism. If indeed, like they are basically referring to common arson, maybe looting of property. Those are crimes, and crime should be punished, but it should be done appropriately, rather than resorting to such serious charges like terrorism.
Oduor, you studied politics.
No.
What did you study in the university?
I studied statistics and economics later.
And then you really ventured into politics.
Yes, I am.
You practiced politics even then in university, right?
Yes.
So you are quite good at politics, if we may say so. If you look at it, what was happening then in your younger days was a political response to a political question, but using law.
Yes.
And what we're seeing now, again, is a political question, but being addressed using these serious laws being applied. And it's not beginning with this. In June last year, the president came and said that what was happening in the country was treason. There were treasonous activities that were taking place. In June this year, again, the cabinet secretary came back again and said treason and an attempt at overthrowing the government. And now, after Sabasaba, it has morphed into terrorism. What is happening? What's this political response to this issue? And is it the right one? Is it the only tool they have in the toolbox?
Of course, treason is a serious crime in our laws, and it could or could not be happening, because when we say Ruto must go, of course, we are almost engaging in treason. But the threshold of proving treason is very high. It's not just that somebody went to the street with a placard and said Ruto must go, then that is treason. Yeah, you know, there must be an elaborate planning for overthrow of government.
Legitimate government.
Yeah, which is covered by Article 3 of our Constitution, which says any attempt to establish a government other than by
Constitution.
What the Constitution provides for is basically unlawful. Yeah, so it's not that just somebody just says that is treason. Treason must be proved, and there must be very elaborate plans to commit treasonous offense. What we are seeing are basically scare tactics. Yeah, so that people do not come out and express themselves over things they are unhappy with. And that we cannot allow. We have come a long way. We cannot go back to where we were in 1982 or 86 or 90. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Is it legitimate? Okay, well, not legitimate. But if you look as a player in the game, let's remove ourselves from the emotion, but just look at the game as it's being played, the politics of this country as it's being played.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a genuine political response? Like, yeah, there is the law and all, but it's our politics. Is there any way we can excuse it and say, but that's how we play our politics, man?
You don't play your politics by killing people. That one is beyond politics. Of course, we do play politics, and especially after reintroduction of multi-party system, people are allowed to organize through different political formations and compete. That is playing politics. But maiming people, killing people, abducting people to disappear without trace, that goes beyond playing politics. Yeah, that is now actually the state being criminal. Yeah. Instead of them being able to contain the crime, they are the ones who are now committing the crime. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ong'wen. We'll be back with Daktari in about 2-3 minutes. Hashtag continues to be Fixing the Nation. We're live on NTV, of course on Nation FM, on X, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, anywhere with a broadcast or internet signal. Please get your questions ready. 0719038858 is the number to call in the next half hour. We'll be right back.
Many comments.
Yes, there's a few comments here.
There's a debate going on.
There's always,
there's always a debate with people. Smallest ever, has just been issuing issues here. He says authorities must do the right thing. If the authority does not respect their mandate, voting them out is sufficient punishment, and if possible, they should face arrest for the wrongdoing. Okay? Then he comes in now on this other conversation. He says citizens must hold both fear and respect for the authority. There's no alternative, no way around it. Authority demands reverence and compliance, or the foundation of order crumbles.
Yeah. Okay. Rafael Musioka is also commenting. He's suspicious, I think, about who funds activists. Gen Z can become activists and get paid instead of being jobless. I don't know whether I'm reading that as something that can be debated or a bit of a sort of like careless remark, but it's okay. All comments are valid. Sawa. Charles Ndungo, 2023, Raila said Ruto must go. 2017, the same, Uhuru must go. No treason, no terrorist charge. When citizens say Ruto must go, it's treasonous. How now?
That's fair.
That's a very fair question.
He swore himself in. Forget saying must go. He swore himself
That's
in.
right there.
As the people's president.
You guys.
I'm sure Oduor will come with that rider. As the people's president.
But that's,
using a different principle.
that is such a valid concern for saying something should have happened then, if need be. And now all of a sudden it's like, wait. Actually, no, let's roll out the rule of law
Right?
now.
If swearing yourself in as the people's president
Is
did not meet the threshold for treason or terrorism.
Why now? You know, Oduor, let me ask you, because we've seen this comment politically, that people are very quick to blame this administration and paint it back like to the Moi administration, forgetting their other 3 administrations. Kenyatta one, Kibaki, and Uhuru's administrations. All of them have faced political pushbacks. All of them have reacted in one way or the other. So why are people just comparing this to the other? So let me ask you, what you're seeing now, has it happened before in the history of this republic?
You know, Moi's 24 years of reign had serious human rights violations. We also saw quite a number of killings. The intervening 2 regimes, there were some repressionary actions, but it didn't come to this extreme. But what we saw from last year to date can only be comparable to those 24 years, if not even worse. So it's not that we have had absence of repressive reactions by the state, but the intensity differs significantly.
We're trying to learn from the past as we try to figure out how to, of course, move forward. The question now is, from a political perspective, there's no clear opposition. There's no clear political opposition, right? And I know you're the executive director of ODM, but truly, we don't have an opposition in this country. Speaking as Dr. Oduor, who organized, who was imprisoned, how do we form a political, actual opposition? Not as executive director for ODM.
Again, you know, sometimes we get mixed up. What Kenyans have not realized that with the new constitution, we have a presidential system. When you have a presidential system, there should not be that this is government side, this is opposition side. What you have, for example, if you go to parliament, the entire parliament is charged with the duty of keeping the executive in check. So what you have there is only the majority and minority. But because of our history, we want to see government side and opposition side. So keeping this government and any government on its toes is the responsibility of everybody in the legislature, whether you are from the party of the president or outside, or a party which does not control the executive. However, because also of our circumstances, the minority has always played the role of opposition, and that should continue. Yeah.
It should continue. We'll come into how ODM was formed out of reform history and whether, to the point, is it neglecting that bit or evolving? But I want to go back to political detainees. A lot of political detainees didn't receive psychosocial support. And I'm wondering whether that has any effect on the democracy, on Kenya's democracy, that trauma, that unresolved trauma, and just what it means for the democracy today. Because I feel like unresolved trauma informs how we move in the country. It can also inform how we define democracy, how we hold true to democracy, how we even fight for democracy. So yeah, any linkages to that?
Yeah, you are right. You know, many of these people coming out of detention found their families broken, became jobless, without any opportunities to even take care of their livelihoods, and therefore we have that problem, and that's why we have been at the forefront. First of all, when we pushed for a TJRC, the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, which would have looked at some of these challenges that these ex-victims faced. The issue of restorative justice. But again, it's a problem we have in this country, is that we make one step forward and then make several steps back. So the TJRC report is there. It's gathering dust somewhere. At one time, even the former President Uhuru talked of putting aside a fund that would compensate the victims of those historical injustices. Again, we have not seen any movement in that direction. Even as we speak now, in ODM's memorandum of understanding with the UDA, there's the talk of compensation for the families of those who are killed in these protests, all the way from 1970, Baby Pendo, and so that 2023, 2024, up to now. Again, there is very little progress that has been made. And that is what makes people also lose faith in some of these initiatives.
So currently, you head the Secretariat of ODM that is in this MOU with UDA. And even yesterday, last night, Ibrahim Karanja on NTV spoke with Raila Odinga, your party leader.
Yeah.
And Raila was asked the question, so where is the compensation? He said, hold your horses, compensation is coming. He was told, the budget is out, there's no line item called compensation. He said, you know, there's a contingency fund and so on and so forth. Oduor, where is the compensation? Are you, as the Secretariat of ODM, pushing for the realization of the 10-point agenda? Start with this one. Where is the compensation?
You know, as a party, we can only talk to the government and keep on pushing, because we don't hold those funds as a party. So the only thing we can do as a party are to be agents of necessity and make sure that things that are bedeviling the nation are brought to the fore. And that is where the difference is. Some people think this can be done without talking. As we believe, it's only by talking to those who hold the authority, those who hold the purse strings, that you can be able to unzip the purse and have this. So, yes, I think given that Raila Odinga is on speed dial with William Samoei Ruto, he might know more than I as a small mtu wa mkono can know. Yeah.
But in the conversation that you've had with him, okay, I want to take you back into the handshake between Raila and Uhuru. And they came up with also, how many points was that for them? Was it 8? For the Building Bridges initiative that said, this is what we need to do to start looking at how to build these bridges of this nation going forward. The issue again of historical injustices and all was mentioned. But they went through the entire 5 years, Oduor, and that wasn't realized. So when people look at the ODM party leader, key founder of this party, and then they look at you as, the executive director of the party, somebody who is not a small person. I mean, you have gone through this for a long time. You and Raila can sit down and talk to one another like, Jacob, this is something that needs to be done. Where are these, how come these points never come to life?
Now the problem is that we as Kenyans, we have got very short memory. If you look at, actually there's a lot of similarity between what happened in 2018 and what happened last year. So just taking us back there, at the time Raila and Uhuru shook hands, do you people remember the state of the nation at that particular time? People were talking about secession. Yeah. Maps had come out of People's Republic of Kenya and Republic of Kenya. So Raila said, not under my watch to dismember Kenya as a country. And then they came up with those points and put a team that went around the country, collected the views under the Building Bridges initiative, and started the process of implementing. What happened is Kenyans who went to court, the process was struck by our judiciary. So it's not that there was unwillingness to do it. Then after that, actually some of the issues that were now in the BBI documents are people trying to implement through the back door. Again, if you look at last year, by the time Ruto and Raila talked, the country had reached a defining moment in that the legislature had been overrun, the judiciary had been overrun, the executive had been overrun to the extent that the president had even been forced to dissolve his own cabinet and did not refuse to sign the finance bill. So the only person that remained there was President William Ruto. So then, at least from where we sit, there were only 5 scenarios that were possible. Scenario number 1 is the president goes, and according to the constitution, his deputy takes over. We didn't think that would make any difference. The second one was the military coming in and saying, you civilians who are playing around with the country, let's take it for a while, organizing and bring back the power to you people. And by the way, the military were already out of the barracks. They had been called
not on their own volition. The military were deployed by the civilian authorities.
That's what I'm saying, that they were already out of the barracks. So they could simply decide, we are not going back. Scenario 3, we could have a palace coup, where the president says, you people take over as long as you can assure me of my safety. Scenario number 4 was where is everybody for himself or herself. So Latif with his militia in one corner, Janet also with hers. We have had that in Africa before. Also, that was also a possible scenario. The 5th one is invoking Article 1 of our Constitution, where people can exercise their sovereignty directly. And that is what Raila went for when he said, let's have a national conversation. But alisalimiwa, so he retreated.
I want to take you back.
Yes.
It's okay. Sometimes we come up with all this talk and we excuse what has not been done. The implementation of a 10 billion shilling restorative justice fund, which President Uhuru Kenyatta had made a commitment in Parliament in 2015 could have happened in the 5 years of the BBI.
But BBI didn't see the light of day.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It did not need BBI.
It would have.
It did not, just like it did not need BBI for Uhuru to say restorative fund in 2015. It did not need BBI for ODM and Raila to push for that. It does not need any new amendment to the Constitution for compensation for last year's victims to happen. For cessation of hostilities or calming down of emotions to happen right now. It doesn't need a conclave.
It needs.
For these things to happen.
What does it need, Latif?
It just needs the two people to come to their senses.
I've said here a few minutes ago that a political party has got its own limitations. Yeah, well, even if you are a ruling party, until you get to have your people in government implement, you can only sit as a party and say, this is what we would want to see as a political party. And ODM is just a political party. But at least we are pushing. And ODM is not the only party in this country.
That's true.
If we could get other people joining us and saying we must have this now, but other people are just silent.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
If you put yourself a little bit outside of your current shoes, remove the doctor. Say you are just Oduor Ong'wen.
By the way, I'm just Oduor Ong'wen.
But before you earned the title Daktari, right? Assume you are in your first year of university at the University of Nairobi in 2025. Would you be pro-dialogue?
I would be, there is nothing you can gain without talking. Maybe how it's structured and having some guarantees that whatever we talk about would see the light of day. But there's no way you can run away from
talking. Let me restructure the question. You are not politically involved, but you are a first-year student at the University of Nairobi in 2025, who is fairly politically aware. Would you be pro-dialogue between the Kenya Kwanza administration and Raila Odinga, or William Ruto and Raila Odinga?
Again, I'll give you my own personal history. In 1991 to 92, we went into military training when now we thought that the only option remaining was to remove Moi by force of arms. But when he conceded and decided they were removing Section 2A, then we said, let's give dialogue a chance. Let's give, because now political parties can be formed and operate, there is no need for this. So it's always that when you run away from dialogue, is that all avenues are closed. But that time I was just that age of Gen Z. And we were able to give a chance for dialogue, for peaceful ways of resolving things.
Right.
Yeah, so I've lived it, not just that I would do it.
You have done it.
Yes.
I can see why Mariam is asking that, because right now there's an opposition to dialogue, because even
she's ready to go for the
I have said this before. I am not against dialogue. I am against Raila Odinga and William Ruto talking.
Being involved.
Yeah, there's nothing that has come out of all previous dialogue. They have, Raila has bonged with every administration, and there's nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
I think there's big room for talking. It's who is doing the talking.
How about this then? Raila, he has released a statement yesterday with Ibrahim Karanja. He also said, let this dialogue begin at the polling center, come all the way to Bomas, and MPs would be involved, and so on and so forth. And Raila does not have to be involved. If he's not elected to be a representative in any of these areas, he does not need to be there. Even Ruto does not need to be there. What if this dialogue that Raila is proposing actually happens without the person of Raila Odinga getting anywhere involved in it?
Electoral dialogue, is that what we're calling it?
We are electing delegates to come for this dialogue. I mean, we are making sure that the people who are speaking are people who are representing us.
When we finally vote them in, is what you're saying?
No.
I'd need to know
You're saying ahead of it?
Yeah,
Yes, ahead of it. Yes, yes. Raila's proposal is that we pick delegates. We pick delegates from the grassroots, pick delegates all the way until we have delegates who come to a national delegates convention, the conclave, just like bombers. And then we'll have now the elected representatives also joining in, the MPs from parliament and so on and so forth. Let the nation have a conversation.
What's the nation discussing?
The issues that are plaguing the country.
The issues that are, I've said again, the issues that are plaguing the country are constitutional. It's a lack of, it's a disregard for the law. Is there need for dialogue to follow the law?
Raila Odinga is making his proposal on how Kenyans should talk to themselves, not at themselves. How this will be structured, who will be involved, that is for Kenyans to decide. And if they decide, like many have also made up their mind that they don't need it, then here we are, stuck with Kenya the way it is, and see if we can move forward without us talking with each other. So nothing is being pushed down anybody's throat. Yeah, yeah. Raila Odinga as a Kenyan has made his proposal. You can oppose it with reason, well and good, but at least he's talking to Kenyans. And I think some Kenyans are talking back at him. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that for now.
For now.
For now.
This is a conversation to continue.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has to continue.
Yeah, at
because-
least here what we do is we talk.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
Oduor, this is what we do every day.
Yeah.
We're having one conversation at a time. It's having those moments where we talk, where we talk. Whether now this should lead into a more formalized conversation is again up for debate. Oduor Ong'wen is the executive director of ODM, and he's also a former political detainee. He was detained over the 1982 coup. He was detained again over Mwa Kenya, but he lived through it all. He went into exile, he came back, and he's living his life in this country as a free man. Keep it here for the next conversation, which we're going to talk to a youthful person and ask them which way forward for you. Is dialogue the way to go or not? It's coming up to 9 a.m. Good morning.